on CityCast Nashville. We're talking about Nashville's Michelin-Star status with our food and travel contributor, Margaret Littman. Together, we answer why Nashville doesn't have any Michelin stars. What would it take to earn one? And who deserves it? Oh, and clearly, Michelin has tapped our phone lines because, according to a story that broke an Eater yesterday, they are finally planning a guide to the American South coming soon. We'll drop that link in the show notes. It's Thursday, April 3rd. I'm your host, Marie Cecile Anderson, and this is what Nashville's talking about. I am speechless, but I can't be speechless because I have to host a podcast. But today, I just learned that Nashville has 0 Michelin stars.
I know. I mean,
What?
for all we talk about our food scene, it's not just Nashville, it's the whole state of Tennessee.
The whole state of Tennessee.
Mhm.
We have 0 Michelin stars.
Mm-hmm.
I looked over at Georgia, and they have them all, it seems.
They just got them in 2024.
Oh, they did?
They also didn't have any.
Oh, okay. I had no idea because I was impressed and thought, oh, I need to get down to Atlanta because these restaurants look amazing. But
They do look, I was also sort of looking at their list before we got on. And yeah, I definitely added a bunch of Atlanta places to my where to eat list.
so, okay, before I go into why we don't have any Michelin stars, I think we have to ask, what is a Michelin star and who is the judge of this prestigious honor?
Who is the judge, or they call them the inspectors, are secret. And that's part, I guess, of the reason that these restaurant rankings or reviews are revered and considered more prestigious than others, is that no one knows who the inspectors are. And so it's less likely that they could be influenced unduly.
That makes sense. Okay.
Are you an Emily in Paris watcher?
That is honestly the only reference I have.
I mean, I think that's all, like everything in Emily in Paris, not exactly
How it goes down.
how it goes down, but the whole idea that no one's supposed to know who it is, that part is true. And then the other thing that I think inspectors do a great job of that maybe other you can't see my air quotes, reviewers or other people who write about food don't do, is inspectors go to the restaurant multiple times. And that is so important for reviewing, right? Because everyone can have an off night or a great night or a weird vibe. And so there are these secret inspectors who have a multi-page form. It's probably all digital now, that they fill out that has all these criteria that they look at. The system started in France and has come to North America, come elsewhere, and they evaluate restaurants on these criteria.
So the inspector isn't just a guy in the white tire suit from Michelin Tires?
He is not the Michelin man. And I think originally the whole idea was that Michelin wanted people to drive out in the countryside and try these restaurants. And they also do hotels also. And so that was a way that they could get people to put Michelin tires on and go drive out in the French countryside. I think that's how it started. But now it's become this revered thing because there is a real system. And I mean, it's been like that for a long time, but I think as sort of your daily newspapers have stopped having restaurant critics, Michelin stars have become more heavily weighted because there isn't other real culinary criticism. There really isn't any in Nashville.
So is it a big deal that Nashville has not been given a single one?
Well, so the way it works is they do it by region. So you need a set of inspectors to come to this region. And that costs money, to make it a very short story. So, and honestly, I don't know whether it was just specifically Atlanta or all of Georgia, but the tourism bureaus there paid, I think, close to $1 million to be able to help set up inspectors. And then over a multi-month or maybe even a multi-year process, the inspectors go out and eat and evaluate restaurants and then come decide whether there are places that should get stars or this other thing that we'll talk about, this Bib Gourmand. My understanding is that there's no guarantee, right? Your tourism board or whomever is helping to subsidize inspectors coming to town. They don't know who the inspectors are. They don't know that anyone will get a star. My guess is that Michelin wouldn't agree to do this if they didn't think there were restaurants worth evaluating in that region. But for communities where you want to emphasize a culinary scene, and I really think it's more about raising the awareness of an existing culinary scene rather than creating one, that's a marketing choice.
All right, so let's focus on Nashville and talk about what restaurants in town should get a Michelin star.
I think this is such a fun game because there's so many good restaurants and we get to talk about places that we like that we think should get a star. We don't have to stick to the Michelin criteria. But I will say kind of knowing what their criteria are is useful because they really think about more than just, oh my gosh, this is a delicious meal. But the service and the whole experience, the ambiance is part of it. The quality of ingredients, using a lot of local ingredients, fresh ingredients. And then sort of the personality of the chef. I think of that as sort of sense of place. Am I having a meal here that I couldn't have anywhere else? And so somewhere like Taylor, to me, would be very high on that list because there's the food at Taylor, but it's also, Vivek has created this place that he wants to feel like you're dining in somebody's house. I mean, a very nice house, but he wants you to feel like you're in a house and there's this storytelling that goes along with each course of the meal and this connection to he's first generation American, to talk about the way in which Nashville cuisine and Indian cuisine are meshed. And I think if he doesn't show up, you can't have that experience, right? His personality is so part of it, but then every part of it is thoughtful and also the food is delicious.
I did have the honor of going there for my birthday this last year, but
nice.
Unfortunately he was not there that night, but the server that we had was outstanding and our full experience was something I've never experienced in Nashville before.
Bad Idea is another place there aren't a lot of places that are serving Lao food, but Colby's connection to the food, I think, is interesting there. The connection of the food and the drinks. And I think it's just an absolutely beautiful space. So put that high on a list. I love Ryan and Matthew Poli's Italian restaurant, Iggy's. And even though it has maybe a less buttoned up vibe than some other good restaurants or great restaurants have, I have never had a bad bite of food there. It's a pretty small menu, but I've gone several times with friends where we just ordered the entire menu. And there's something about their personalities. Ryan's in the kitchen and his brother Matthew is the sommelier. There's something about their personalities that's really infused with everything. Ryan makes the playlists that are played in the restaurant, so even the music is part of it. And I think one of the great things about Iggy's and some of the other places we should mention, probably Bad Idea also, Noco would be in this category, is they are pretty focused. They're not trying to do everything. And so they can do things really well, right? Because they're not trying to
be a cheesecake factory.
Yes, there's a good example. I was trying to think of the example. Perfect. Have you been to Peninsula in East Nashville?
I have not, but that is one that some friends of mine went for happy hour 2 weeks ago and said it was the best restaurant they've been to since they've moved here.
Jake is making interesting food that you are not going to have a lot of other places. It's very specific. Once you've been there, you'll see you eat that food and you're not going to be confused that you were at some other restaurant. And then they have this huge menu of gin and tonics with just beautiful gins.
Yum.
And I think that the way that Jake has designed the menu, you really see what he's doing with the ingredients and the cooking techniques. And I think that that's something that an inspector likes.
Well, one that I feel like would be kind of an obvious would be Catbird Seat.
I love Catbird. It absolutely. would be on a list. They're about to move from Midtown to the Bill Voorhees building. Both Patterson House and Catbird are going to move. I'm curious about what the experience is going to be like in a new space, because the space is so important to that experience. But I mean, absolutely. The first time I went to Catbird, it sort of blew my mind. It just opened my mind about a lot of things. So for people who don't know, Catbird is, it's sort of a horseshoe shaped bar table. Maybe it's 32 seats, and that's sort of around the kitchen. And so you're watching the chefs prepare the food, and then they bring you the food and talk to you about it. And then there are wine pairings or non-alcoholic pairings. The non-alcoholic pairings there are unreal. And they were, I think, were the first people in town who were doing that. But so you get this really intimate experience with other diners, with the chefs, and you also get to try all these interesting food preparations and techniques. And it really is more of theater about food, I guess. And they change the chefs every couple of years and sort of think of themselves as a culinary incubator. So several chefs in town, including who we just mentioned, Ryan Poley at Iggy's, Trevor, who's at Locust now, and Josh, who's at Bastion, they all have been at Catbird seat. So it does help elevate the entire Nashville dining scene, I think.
Well, I have done the tasting menu at Audrey.
Yeah.
And that was incredible. That was a couple years ago, so I don't know what's going on now, but it really was quite an experience.
I do think that that's an example of a menu that's really specific to the chef, to, Sean Brock's the vision. And he's not in the kitchen every day anymore. He's opening these other restaurants, this new show pizza bar in Riverside Village, and expanding Joyland. But the menu is still sort of like you were saying with Vivek and Taylor, the menu is still created by him. It's still art from his personal collection on the walls. And, one of Sean's things when he's talked about hopefully having Michelin come to Nashville at some point is a really wanting Southern food to be Michelin caliber and getting that sort of attention. And so definitely Audrey would be a contender.
I had to hitchhike once in the Appalachian Mountains, so I didn't know what to expect for Appalachian fare. It was a little different than what I experienced.
I think
time.
I think that's part of what he's trying to show. You weren't eating kudzu off the roadside.
Almost. A story for another day, for sure.
I cannot wait to hear that story.
Are there any other restaurants that we want to mention before we go to break?
Locust and Bastion. I think those are both great examples of places where chefs have really been thoughtful about the entire experience. My guess is that City House would be on a list. Maybe Yolan, which is in the Joseph Hotel. It's Italian. They have had some change in the kitchen staff there. I haven't been back super recently, but I wouldn't say that restaurant service is Nashville's strength. Yolan is somewhere where they really have the service part of it dialed in.
Well, the one I wanted to ask you about is the Yellow Table Cafe.
It just opened in January. It's on the east side. And it's just breakfast and lunch, and it's sort of a creperie. And the food is perfect. It's both savory crepes and sweet crepes and salads. They have bread from Butter Lamp, which is in that same Eastwood complex where they're located. And it's probably not a Michelin star, but it is Bib Gourmand, which is what Michelin gives places that don't merit stars, that maybe aren't full service, that sort of thing. But really, I think that the food that Anna is making at Yellow Table is a real gift to Nashville. It's delicious. It's affordable. Everything is sort of super bright and cheery. And again, like most of these places we've talked about, the menu's pretty focused. She's not trying to do a billion different things.
We're back with Margaret Littman. And since you mentioned it twice already, let's get into this. What is a Bib Gourmand?
So that's sort of their Michelin's kind of like nod to places that they think are worthwhile, but for whatever reason, they don't meet the criteria for a star. So maybe they're less expensive because the value for money is one of the criteria that they use for Bib Gourmand. It's sort of a simpler style of cooking. So not what they're doing over at Bad Idea or Peninsula, but sort of familiar dishes, maybe comfort food, less elaborate, but it still has to be super reliable and consistent. You know, the inspector's going back over and over again. So my guess is Prince's Hot Chicken would get Bib Gourmand if Michelin came to town.
Well, let's play a fun game and just rattle some off.
Okay.
I definitely would say Osh.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, Osh would be
That's
good.
a great one.
Bobby's Dairy Dip.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love Bobby's. I actually was just thinking the other day, like, oh, it's Bobby's season again.
Yay! Yes, it is.
Maybe somewhere like Pelican and Pig, which I think is maybe not that sort of elaborate technique that Michelin wants for a star, but it's still making great food. It's full service, 3-course, wood fire. I might put that on there. Odessa, which has Kurdish food. I'd probably, Nolensville, probably put that on the list. I'm super hot right now on Alabrije. Have you been there yet?
I have not.
You know, Edgar's had several kind of pop-ups all over town at Never Never and Bar Sovereign and the Drift Hotel, but he just opened his own brick and mortar place that's at Eastland and Gallatin, and it's Mexico City style tacos and food, and it's so good.
Well, we had an exclusive interview with him thanks to Jen Harbin that our listeners got to hear last week. So,
oh, great.
I'm very excited to go visit there. Well, I would have to say the Pizza Perfect that used to exist on Granny White Pike, I would say Bib Gourmand because it was so consistent and delicious and amazing. Back in the 80s, it was pretty great, but Pizza Perfect still exists today. But that one location was outstanding.
Isn't that funny how, like, I am a devotee of Slim and Huskies on Buchanan Street, like 100%. And I'll eat it elsewhere, but it's, I don't know. I don't think
not the same at the airport?
It's not the same. Well, they don't even have my favorite pizza at the airport. But even the other locations, again, I'll eat it. It's good. But I will go out of my way to go to Buchanan Street. And I think the food tastes better. Like the vibe is better. I don't know. Maybe it's just because that was the first one.
Interesting. Yeah. My CityCast team suggested Daddy's Dogs.
Okay. I was thinking kind of in that same area, Shotgun Willie's barbecue.
Oh, yep. Whitney, our executive producer, would agree with you on that one.
Yeah, she is a fan. It's delicious. It's probably too early, and I don't know. I have no idea how Michelin feels about places with multiple locations. But Curry Boys just opened in Riverside Village. It's Thai barbecue. Oh my gosh, this food is unreal.
Really?
I had this like brisket bowl with this curry rice. I don't even know how to explain it, except I have to drive through Riverside Village on my way kind of anywhere. And every day this week, I'm like, I can't go eat that again, can I? Like, how many days a week can I eat that? Just like the perfect combination of flavors. And it's super joyful. And the sides were great. They do have alcoholic drinks, but I had this like Thai lemonade that was perfect. Cut some of the spice. So it's probably early for them. And again, I don't know if that's Michelin, but it's a good restaurant.
Well, I have to say, I feel like Nashville isn't complete without a Michelin star restaurant. It feels like an unfinished project, which leads me into asking you about your upcoming art exhibit at the Julia Martin Gallery called Are We Done Yet? I'm so excited for this. Please tell us all about it.
I'm super excited about it. So last year, Julia Martin put out sort of a call for proposals for exhibitions in her gallery, which is in Wedgwood, Houston. And the idea was to attract some folks who were not traditional artists. And I had been thinking a lot. I sort of call my basement the museum of unfinished projects because I just have all of these things that are not quite done. I built a wood canoe once that's like 95% done, but it needs another coat of fiberglass or just, down there is every sort of art thing you can think about because I start a project and don't finish it. And a lot of it is running out of time, but also for me, it's the act of creating something that is what I need. I don't really need to have a finished product when I'm making art because that's not really the point for me. The point is to use my brain differently. So I just started thinking about that and thinking about kind of like what it means to be done with something, right? I feel like we almost revere being completed or done with something in a weird way. And also a lot of things can't be finished. When we talk about things being done, like even we're talking about restaurants, like a server will ask you if you're done with your plate. We talk all the time, like, is that construction just not done yet? But we don't actually want to live somewhere where everything is done. That would be a city that was stagnant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's not a thing. And with a lot of art or writing, and I'm sure with editing a podcast, you could edit and revise infinitely. You're done because you have a deadline. It's definitely true of my work and lots of painters, right? They paint over things. And so I wanted to have an opportunity where we could discuss all that. So we're going to have an exhibition of some of these unfinished projects. A lot are mine, but also I inherited a collection of unfinished embroidery projects from a friend's mom. So I'll have some of those. And then we're going to have almost a free little library where you can drop off an unfinished project that you're not going to get to, and someone else can take it and work on it. And there'll be studio time at Julia Martin Gallery where you can work on it there, or you can take it with you and work on it at home. We hope that people will take these things and integrate them however they want. Like take a ceramic piece and break it and make it a mosaic, or unravel some knitted project and use the yarn for something else. We don't think you need to complete or finish somebody else's idea, but it's the idea of creating and what it means to be done. So that's the idea of the exhibit. It'll be up starting April 5th. And there's an opening reception on April 5th from 6 to 9 o'clock. And it should be fun. We're trying to figure out some food that could be food safe, but also halfway done. So I don't know. It might be like a cake that's not frosted. And I think just a really good conversation. And I hope people will bring things. There's so many songwriters in town. I hope some folks will drop off some unfinished lyrics or songs or videos. I don't think it all has to be, I hope it's not all visual projects.
Oh, you just spoke right to me. I'm a songwriter and I have about 30 unfinished songs. So just drop those off and see if someone will finish it or at least add to it.
Do you have a term for them? I asked a friend who's a songwriter and she calls those songs embryos.
Oh, yeah, I do refer to them as my babies, my children. They just are there always. Oh, well, this is so exciting. So it's this weekend that you're going to be kicking off this amazing exhibit. And how long will it be there?
It'll be there until April 26th.
Oh, wonderful.
And so the studio time will be, I think it's weekends, Saturdays and Sundays when you can go work on things. But the kind of free shelf or locker of projects, that will be accessible 24/7. So you can go, if you're annoyed with something you're working on at 10 o'clock at night, go drop it off. If you want something to do, go take something.
Will your canoe be there?
My canoe will be there. Yes, you will get to see my canoe in all its 95% finished glory.
Oh, this is so cool. Well, thank you so much. I love always having you on.
It's so fun.
Always such a pleasure.
Thank you. I love getting to think about these things. I really appreciate it.
That's all for today here on CityCast Nashville. If you enjoy the show, why not tell your friends? Rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Nashville newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Toodles!